I didn't understand the fact that if a doctor likes something, has nothing to do whether this thing gets adopted or not. How dumb I must have been at the time that I was pushing a wall that was not moving even an inch.
Welcome to the CEO Pajama Time podcast. Today, we're excited to host Dan Vahdat, the CEO and founder of Huma. Dan and I have known each other for a long time, and we can tell war stories of COVID days where Dan was living in his office literally to get healthcare out to a lot of people who needed it, and we were kind of on Zoom in huddles. But anyway, we can get into that in a bit. But Dan, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Sorry, it's so great to see you.
Awesome. So to start us off, can you tell us about Huma today in case anyone listening doesn't know what it is? What do you do today?
You know, I like what our customers these days, they call us Palantir for healthcare, or a Palantir that is not evil. Either way, I like it. But I guess in a nutshell, if you go and spend time with different customers we have, from governments, which it's growing a lot, to health systems, which we have 5,000 of those, to life sciences, which we work with 15 out of the top 20, ask them, like, what does Huma do for you? The answer, you will get something along the line: Huma makes it super simple for us to build regulated AI-driven software as a part of, you know, the care delivery we are thinking to provide to our patients or our users one way or the other. So that's kind of what we do. Think of us as an infrastructure that powers healthcare for government, life sciences, and health systems.
Got it. Okay, so now take me back to the beginning, because in the beginning, that isn't what you were. And actually, Huma wasn't the name of your company at all. And so tell us, take us back. How long ago was it? What were you doing in life? What was the burning problem that made you decide to start a company?
It started with still not too dissimilar ambition, which was like, how can we bring more digital and technology into the world of healthcare? And the problem we focused on at the beginning was around, we do have systems in hospitals. They're not connected. They're not doing the best in terms of providing actionable insight. But there's at least, something. There's some, flaky data here and there, and doctors make their decisions. But as soon as the same patient, especially in the context of complex patients, rare diseases, where we started, they leave the four walls, nobody knows anything about them. And these are patients with comorbidity, relatively complex conditions, genetic disorders. And how can we ensure that continuity of care remains? Step one. Step two, how can we make sure, for the patient's benefit, if something goes wrong, we know it before it gets too tricky or too complicated or too dangerous to the lives of these patients. And that's like where Huma started building applications for one disease to another disease, from one condition to another conditions. And then, as a part of that experience, it proved impossible to scale the business if we wanted to start from scratch each time, right? That is why we said, let's build at least a common platform that every use case we go after is not, 100% of the work. It's like 20%, 30% of the work. And then that platform became more mature and mature. We call it now Huma Cloud Platform that powers everything. That was solving the tech scalability, right? At the cost and efficiency. But then we hit another, I guess, not showstopper, slower, that added cost, time, and uncertainty in terms of the outcome of our ambition, which was, if you really want to do something meaningful with your software, more than just storing data, more than few nice charts and some educational stuff, you need to be able to diagnose patients with that software. You need to be able to do decision support, tell the patients, tell the clinicians what to do most likely, or do predictions. And for that, you need to be regulated software. So if you want to go each time from scratch to regulatory bodies, from EU MDR to FDA, to name it, different countries, that is a lot of cost, a lot of time. And you have to also do it each time for each country almost from the beginning. And we felt, is there a way we can solve that and have an umbrella agreement so that if I need to get a regulatory, ideally it's out of the box. I don't need to go through it as long as I follow certain guardrails. Or if it is not out of the box because I added something totally new, I don't have to go through the whole process. Maybe I can only do 20% because the remaining 80% I've already done it many, many times. And I think that was our claim to fame in 2023, 2024, when we became the first. And I think still we're the only company in the world that has this configurable software as a medical device platform builder, which is, approved by regulators in the US, Europe, Asia, in Japan, and India, and Saudi, and you name it.
Yeah. So Dan, what were you doing before you started Huma? Like, what made you start a company?
I was a very nerd student at Johns Hopkins, spending all my time in the university, in the lab, and sometimes in the hospital. And this is where, based on that observation of what things are happening at Hopkins medicine, but also my background of family that they're all doctors. My father is a cardiologist, my sister is a gynecologist. I was exposed to the fact that we don't know a lot about the patients when they leave, poor walls. I was exposed to the fact that still for basic stuff, the information has to get collected, combined, comes to a doctor, and then they need to make a decisions, tell the nurses or whoever else to apply that decisions. And probably there is a better way to do that, more automated, more real time, more reliable. So that is how the whole thing, I guess, in looking backwards, connected.
Okay, but then as a nerd student, what made you say, "Oh, I'm going to start a tech company and I'm going to be the one who's going to do this"?
I had this force, and I still can't explain it inside me, that I wanted to build something. I was just so hungry to get to something, almost like a game. You want to play a game or you want to get into it. And for me, it was very clear that getting my PhD done and writing a thesis is not what really excites me. As much as I loved my topics, as much as I loved my professors, and big part of my success is because of the support and generosity and flexibility they gave me and allowed me to have a bit of a bandwidth to do stuff that I needed to do in my mind. So I kind of decided I don't want to do that. And then at Hopkins, every professor there, they were telling us, don't do anything in medicine. It's just hard, complex, regulatory, multi-stakeholders, long life cycle for like development, but also for sales cycle side. So I was kind of like not even wanting to touch healthcare at all. So I was actually working on some other cool projects and concepts, from building electric car. And back in the day, this is now 2009, 2010. Nobody believed electric cars.
Yeah,
they have a play, to some other things related to part of my research, but across industry kind of applications. And the stuff we do today started almost as a hobby project on the side to those main projects, which was called Metapad. And the idea was, how can we simplify the flow of information and decision making for hospital? And that is how this hobby project started. The more we showed this to hospitals and people, the more they liked it. And then the more also we realized building a car company is super expensive. And maybe for 25 years old, with limited access, limited knowledge, limited experience, limited network, obviously zero capital, might not be the best thing. And at the time, I was doing part of my research at Oxford. So I was in the UK, which is even the environment is more conservative to the US. And then this hobby project became the main project. One thing that I missed, and maybe it was lucky that I was so naive about it in hindsight, I didn't understand the fact that if a doctor likes something, has nothing to do whether this thing gets adopted or not. Has nothing to do. And also, if one doctor loves it, that doesn't mean many other doctors would love it either. And that started the journey of pain and suffering
Yeah.
and selling anything and not having any money. And that took a couple of years for us.
Okay, so I'm curious. I'm going to ask kind of two questions and you can pick which one. But the first one is, as you went through those years of you were 25 years old, you had no experience, you basically had quite a kind of no right to be doing this, but you needed money, right? So you had to get investors. How did you deal with that? Like, how did you get investors on board? And then the flip side is that, do you ever have imposter syndrome? Were you ever like, forget it, I shouldn't be doing this. Like, why am I even trying?
When I look back, I still look at myself, how dumb I must have been at the time that I was pushing a wall that was not moving even an inch. Sometimes you push a wall and then you see like, okay, we progress 2 millimeter or 1 centimeter or whatever. That's at least progress. I was pushing a wall that was not moving. Everybody around me, rightly so, was telling me that this is not a good wall to push. For a variety of reasons, so many failed large national projects to digitalize things and everything else. And I didn't have the money, but I don't know what was in my mind. I think I was just so consumed with the mission and the fact that I really want to make this work, and almost living in a world that there's nothing else for me.
Mm-hmm.
I guess a good example could be, if you are like being born inside your mom's belly, you don't have a choice. You don't think about, oh, I can be somewhere else. I'm just here. I need to live here. I need to survive here. And maybe at some point there is a flying moment. Probably I was kind of in that kind of mindset, which is like insane. When I look at it, even with into myself, it is insane. But no, we didn't have the money. We managed to get £2,000 of grants at the time from Royal Society of Art or something irrelevant to us. And then they decided not to give us the next tranche, which was 5,000. They felt the business is not, like justifiable for more investment. And that was the first money we got. So we had to deal with sleeping under the table, almost illegally, because the building we weren't really allowed to sleep under the bed, under the table, and be very like brutal with money and not spending money so we can survive. And it's not that we had cost, we just had to like be able to live and eat.
Right.
That was kind of the need. Yeah.
Okay, so then tell me, like, what was one of the first big product or business model decisions that you had to make, and how did you make that?
I was actually with Carolyn Clark, who at the time I think was the CFO of Royal Free Hospital, which is the first commercial deal we signed. Yesterday we were having breakfast and we were talking about those days. I wasn't interacting with her, by the way. At the time we were doing small projects, so she was just like super high up. But they gave us a contract to build what we wanted, to manage certain patients cohort remotely and have informations, and they can submit the wounds, pictures, and things like that for diabetes, foot ulcer patients. And they gave us, I don't know, 150K to 200. And I remember when we got that payment, that money, we felt as like the richest people in the planet. And the joy I had at the time. Now, even when we signed like $60 million deals, which we do sign those kind of deals, or we just signed yesterday a 20 million health system in the US deal, I just, sure, great, fantastic, next one. But that 200, I still remember it vividly. We felt so rich, so rich. So that was the first thing. Yeah.
And so you made that, and then what did you say to yourselves? Okay, now we're a foot ulcer management company, or how did you decide what was next?
We never had like ambitions to just go deep in one thing. We always felt the solution probably is a platform. Now, you can argue that we were wrong. Also, you can argue that we were right. So I don't want to say that we were right or wrong. We always thought when you walk in the hospital, you see so many patients, so many diseases, so many use cases. There must be a way that you can go across use cases. When you also look at big companies, pharma and others, you will see, or medical device companies, they don't have one thing for only one disease. They have a portfolio of like therapeutic areas and use cases, some of them from diagnostic to pharma and anything in between. So somehow we were a little bit convoluted in terms of what should we do, because the common sense was like, let's do one thing and scale that. But the risk with that was, what if I do that one thing and the speed of experimenting is low and the time it takes to experiment in healthcare is low? So you can't just test something and then 6 months in, you say, okay, did it work or not?
Yeah.
And you can always have the risk of you're 2 years in, only one thing, and then that thing is not the right thing. It's not working. It doesn't make sense. The unit economies are not there. Versus taking a little bit of a platform approach and putting different seats and see which one would work. Maybe leg ulcer is a really good one on the scales, but maybe, I don't know, Gaucher disease, the rare disease that we wanted, or DIPG, which is a pediatric cancer disease, and 3 more other conditions are the better ones. So we decided to just go platform play. And that's why, when we partnered with Royal Free, at some point we had like 17 different diseases up and running.
And were there people, whether investors or advisors, who told you were not doing the right thing, that you were stupid for doing a platform play and not picking something and excelling in that thing?
Yes, all the time. And I think they were correct from one perspective, but from another perspective also, they weren't. And I also, when you build a company in one environment to another environment, there is a big difference. I was working and doing stuff in the UK. Lots of, I think, common wisdom comes from the US, how you build business in the US. And I think if I was in the US, doing one thing would be the right thing, because even if I would have taken the risk of experimenting and things might not working out, but I still had the scale of the business, the market, so that if it does work, the upside is there. It's always based on risk analysis, right? But in the small market that we had, and it's a very concentrated market because of NHS, where we started at least. Now, 50% of our revenue is US, but back in the day, it was all UK. We probably made the right decisions without knowing exactly why, intuition-wise. And when I look at now 10 years, I have 10 years of hindsight, I guess. Any company that went focused only on one thing, they're either stayed like, I don't know, 500,000, 1 million revenue, or most they're dead. And we are still around.
Yeah.
And strong.
So what was your process, like your decision-making process? Like, take me into the specifics. Like, you would talk to someone, they would say you're stupid. What do you think to yourself? Do you think, no, they're wrong, or maybe they're right, but I just have this gut feeling? Did you talk to your team? Did you like find data? Did you talk to customers? Like, what did you do?
It's a very hard to explain thing. Mostly was guts and intuition, and maybe to some extent stupidity and stubbornness. I to be honest, I would get all these feedbacks and I kind of like ignored them. In hindsight, I would have put more weight on those and would have thought even more, because some of those feedbacks, they were correct. And some of those feedbacks, if I would have listened strategically at the right time, I could have made more optimized decisions, I have to say. But I was just so dumb and so focused and like heads down doing what is the right things to do. Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like maybe you would have had a better process of not just taking it at face value, but incorporating it, stir the pot a little more, and then make a decision versus just pushing things aside.
Yes, I could have done more.
So what are any mistakes? Tell me a mistake. Pick a mistake that you made, that you feel when you look back, you're like, wow, we really shouldn't have done that.
I think the biggest mistake is when you're doing pioneering work, it's a very dangerous thing because you have to build the market, the product,
Mm-hmm.
the business, the business model, so many things. And sometimes also to make a market, you need to take a longer term kind of view
Mm-hmm.
and be patient. Even if you believe the market, the fact that one of the things that perhaps kept us going, we never doubted that back in the day, 10 years ago, 20 years in the future, technology and digital will be an interface for
Mm-hmm.
anything and everything healthcare. We never doubted that. We were sure. Now, what will be the form, when, who, what use case, obviously all up for
Yeah.
debate. Uh, and sometimes you try to go faster by doing shortcuts or whatever because you need to tick box thing to get investment or something else to show growth. And instead of getting you closer to your end goal, it actually detracts you and you
Mm-hmm.
fall. You run, but you fall. And then you have to wake up and you're like bloody and you have to, kind of gather yourself. Versus saying, okay, that is the long-term vision. What is it that I can do today to make money, to
Mm-hmm.
make profit? What kind of value I can create for an organization today? And that could be, by the way, as stupid as saying, you know what? I want to do hospital business. Let me go and work if you have the opportunity and possibilities of that. At the time, I didn't, but if you do have, and most people do have, maybe I will go and work for 6 months for the
Mm.
chief digital officer of the hospitals or the
Yeah.
CIO. I tell him, look, I'm going to work like a dog, pay me the minimal. I'm here to create value for you,
Yeah.
whatever, but allow me to learn. And then when I learn, then I pick what are the problems that I can solve with small team
Mm-hmm.
to make money. And then I have a business that's most likely profitable, small, but profitable, not
Right.
sexy, but profitable. And then around that, look into, okay, in long term, 10 years from now or 20 years from now, what would be the ideal? How technology could play? Things like that I would do more of than less of.
Mm-hmm. Almost like split the time horizon into two and keep the big vision, but act more practically. So, do you
Yes.
think on some level there's a bit of luck that Huma made it this far? Like, if you were making some of these decisions in the beginning, that like what drove the success in your mind? Obviously, you worked hard. I know that, but
Look, we got a lot of times lucky and we got a lot of times unlucky, right? So luck has played a role to some extent, but ultimately being adaptable and being patient and working really hard and trying to do things with passion and love. These things, they're all part of the ingredients, right?
yeah,
It's like a building you build. It's not just the luck or just the door or just the bricks. It's everything combined you need.
yeah.
But for sure, we got lucky many times, many times.
Mm-hmm. So tell me now about. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I know you've made a few acquisitions over the years, so let's talk a bit about culture and also, why you chose to make those acquisitions and if that changed the culture of the company, how you integrated those pieces of the business.
It's a complicated one because I'm still reflecting in terms of like lots of topics around acquisitions and how can you do it well? What are the right acquisitions? How can we do it better? And
Mm-hmm.
when I look at, uh, to give you one example, the very first acquisitions we did, meaningful one, we didn't touch the company for 3 years, right?
Oh wow.
And
Mm-hmm.
the last acquisition we did, we have done five of those. We literally touched the company day -1. Like we
Mm-hmm.
just different team from day one, whatever we had to do, plan for the technology. So much we have learned. And the reason there are two core reasons why we wanted to do acquisitions. One, when I talk about, the mission of the company is like accelerating adoption of digital AI across care and research. Okay, great. What are the stuff that slows down the adoptions so that I can reverse, and accelerate? When we dug deeper, we realized there are three things that slows down adoption of technology in healthcare. One is building the tech itself. It's complicated. It's a mission critical software. You have multiple stakeholders. Hard to attract talents because people prefer to go and get paid, higher salaries in whatever Google and elsewhere. That's one. Building the tech itself is hard. Now, assume you built the tech, then you have the regulatory. The regulatory is such a showstopper, new concept, risky. Investors don't like it. No one likes it. Important things, but adds complexity and delays. And the last one is go to market. Go to market in healthcare is bloody hard. You know it better than anyone. Whether you're talking about health systems or life sciences or government, it doesn't matter. Go to market is really hard for any company. So now, distilling those three things, we always try to solve problems. So the first two, we feel we have solved it and we are like championing that. The third one, we said, for us to solve the go-to-market, I need to be a company that I'm in like thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of hospitals, every pharma, ideally every government or most important governments. Organically getting there is good. We've been growing like 70% ARR revenue past several years. But sometimes there is a limit because the go-to-market problem is our problem too, at least for the first time. We decided maybe through acquisitions, we can suddenly buy, X number of customers, re-platform their tech with our platform. And then those customers, not only they benefit from our technology and everything else they can do with our platform, the land and expand, but also once the platform is there, which means anybody else from two people in a garage to a pharma or whoever that builds something new on my platform, technically they can make it available to every other customers of mine.
Right.
So that speed was really important, and we feel inorganic play gives us extra accelerations in terms of the market grab. That is one reason. Then the other reason is we do have a vision of what certain things should look like in 20, 30 years. And by buying certain companies that are giving us access to customers, they also give us access into the kind of solutions they have. And we understand, we learn what that industry is all about. Is there something we have missed? Is there something that we can categorically do that is 10 times better than what's happening in today's market? So there is a bit of a knowledge and learning the industry by going deeper. And there was a unintended consequence, which probably has had a profound impact in terms of our strategy, which after buying companies, because when you buy, 4 or 5 companies, you probably have done due diligence on at least 10 per each acquisition, so 50 companies. So I have seen more company than anybody. And because investors, they don't know tech, really. They just look at high level. So
wait, Dan, you want to come join ASA?
Yeah.
Just take a break from Huma and come over and join my team here,
For sure. Anytime. I can help, happy to help. But I can argue, I know more about technology companies in healthcare than anyone in the world from the technology perspective, right? Anyone, because I've seen more companies. We have done deep due diligence in these companies from tech perspective, product perspective. And we realized tech companies across the board, except some exceptions, they have the shittiest tech stack you can imagine. All the wrong choices, from database layer to applications layer to the languages they use to the way their web services are working. And it's consistent, by the way. There are very few companies that they got it right. And that is an opportunity, because if everyone is building a shit tech, that is good for my platform business. When you look at the future, there are roughly 100,000 software products in the world in healthcare. 100,000. I support roughly 100 of those through my platform. They've been powered. So it means there are like tons of revenue and opportunities ahead of me. All of them, they have the same problems. All of them, if I can solve, I save them a lot of money and I make a lot of money, and they're super sticky. So it's fantastic. So it really validated our convictions that a platform business needed in this industry.
Mm-hmm. And that, maybe you're not crazy for having that vision of 20, 30 years from now, because it is sort of happening, but in pockets and not organized and not structured together. Right.
Yes.
Okay. So now, just kind of getting a little bit practical, obviously this podcast is called CEO Pajama Time. And the idea behind that is you spend the day running the business. It's nights and weekends when you can have the time to think bigger picture and think about those kind of more strategic questions. So what fuels your pajama time? What are you reading? Who are you talking to? What are you listening to? Do you have an empty notebook you're taking notes on? Like, how do you think about the big future things that you need to tackle, or the big inflection points?
It's really tough, because I was actually talking to Milano, my CTO, and we built this company together. I don't have time to think. I'm just so busy with execution and delivering all these large contracts, and some of the plannings we had to go after countries and large enterprises. And I cannot wait for the holidays to come in for me to sit somewhere and think. It is important, that kind of need time, or the company time. But it's been a very busy year. It's something that I desire the most. But nevertheless, I'm not regretting it, because we have a good plan and things are going well, and we are staying heads down execution mode right now. But we do it at least once a year, most of the time twice a year. And here and there we go for walks or chit chat here and there. I don't have a defined pajama time, if that's what you're looking. I don't take much of a note, really, because I have realized when you take a lot of note, then you never go back to look at your notes. It's like a pictures on your iPhone. No one looks at the pictures that they take, most likely. So if something is really important, I keep remembering it. And then sometimes I might put it on my, I have a Windows in my office. I write it down there, so I see it all the time. Yeah. But there's a limited place I can put things.
Yeah. But it sounds like a lot of the time what helps you is to process with your CTO, right? So you talk to him, and that helps you kind of prioritize and think about the bigger picture. Is that right?
For sure, because we are a tech company. Basically, tech people at Huma, they're like citizen class 1. That's like what it is. And we put everything around tech. Yeah. Even if we have to sacrifice revenue, contracts, anything, because our belief also is a good company is a company that if you had no one working on it except a couple of DevOps to keep the engines going, that should continue delivering value for your customer. As long as you add extra things that you need too much customer support or delivery or services, suddenly you are getting into a complicated territory and probably not as scalable.
What's an example of something you declined because it wasn't aligned with your tech?
So more or less anything that our customers, they want us to get into service elements. We tell them, look, there is another company that can do the service for you, or let me tell you how you can do it yourself. We just don't engage. We really want to stay focused. We really want to act as a platform that I give you the platform. You can build and solve your problem yourself. You don't even need me. I'm happy to be there for a period of time to educate you, onboard you. But the idea is you gotta be able to drive the engine. And that is what all the successful platform companies they have done. Salesforce doesn't do much services for their customers.
Right.
Other people do that for them. Same goes for Shopify.
Right.
Palantir is a little bit different, and I understand. But even there, the teams, the FDEs, they're like there to help the customer to think correctly. And we do have that role, which we call them field CEO instead of FDE.
Looking forward, what's a big bet you're making now that you think people will be surprised about later?
We are building something on top of our platform, mainly for healthcare customers. That is really cool.
Okay. No sneak preview. All right. We'll have to come back in a few months and see what it was. I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right. So then just to wrap it up, we have three quick hot take questions for you, or closing round questions. First one, hot take. Tell me something that, you'd kind of get in trouble saying it at a stage at a conference, something you believe about healthcare or health, technology that, is kind of a controversial opinion.
I say a lot of things that I get in trouble all the time, but I think people got used to it. So if they invite me, they know I'm not going to be politically correct. I'm going to tell people what I think. But I think one of the things that people are shy away to talk about, and I understand, is the workforce utilization in healthcare will get transformed massively. And the stuff that doctors are doing today, they won't be doing tomorrow. And that would be so different. I'm not saying that they will be 100% become irrelevant. The ones that won't adopt technology, they will be relevant. But the other ones, their role will get reinvented and they can do a lot more. And this is basically the direction of our product that I didn't share much. But think of the concept. I don't think anyone talked about it, but we talk about vibe coding, right? Cursors and so on. Think of vibe caring.
Vibe caring. I
Because
like it.
right now, a healthcare, it's from a doctor perspective, forget the patient perspective. It's just left and right information, bureaucracy, documentations, a lot of things you don't know, a lot of things that you have to guess. It cannot be fun. I cannot, and I have not seen a doctor to feel like a DJ. When DJ people, they vibing and then doing DJing, you see, they have a joy in that. But I have never seen a doctor to have that joy. Yes, there is this value creation and helping people's joy. But when they do the work, there is no joy because you get punches and it's kind of like hard. What if we can make that vibe? You vibe when you do care. So vibe caring is something that I want to make a standard for the world.
Okay, awesome. Vibe caring. So next, myth busting. What do people tell CEOs and founders all the time that you think is just not true?
There are a lot of things that people say that I think they're not true. There was a time you grow through personal growth, and then sometimes you have this kind of gut feel, whatever you want to call it, that you have to do certain things in certain ways. And then some people that you admire them and like them a lot, they tell you, oh, no, you should do this way or that way. And then you kind of say, you know what, I'm going to listen to this person. And I need to be, understanding. And that often has been incorrect, sometimes correct. I'm not saying always. One of which was, I was told that you don't need to have the smartest people for every role. You can have a, done this, done that. For certain roles, you need to have a doers. You need, someone sit on the table and just do things. That is the most bullshit advice. You need the best people, the most passionate. And if you have an accountant, find an accountant that's just like passionate about the shit he or she is
Yeah.
doing. That's one. And the second thing, I was told, oh, we need to be mindful of, people, life and work and the balance and everything. And I'm like, okay, fine. We did that for some time. No, you got to find people that they just love working. I'm not saying everyone, Huma is the right place for everyone, but you want to be in a company that when you go 10 p.m., you don't need to have everyone in the office 10 p.m., but some people, 20, 30, 50 people are having dinners together in the office because they're pushing for something to get delivered. And then 2 nights, maybe they go home. It doesn't matter. But that culture that as soon as it's 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., boom, I need to close and go, cannot exist if you're trying to do pioneering work and reinventing certain things. Or even do something that you want to scale it, to be honest. It doesn't have to even be fancy. So that's another one. And I'm like, okay. And then the last one is, this is the biggest one. Oh, you need to hire experienced people. This is the worst advice. Never hire experienced people. Because if that experienced people was so good, so adaptable, so calculated, so intelligent, they would have had a bigger business than yours. And they would not work for you. So it's something they don't have. Maybe in one dimension they have something, but when you bring someone with a big in one dimensions, think of this. Think of me. If I had an arm that is like 3-4 meters long, I couldn't fit into this door. Whenever I had to cross the door, my hand would get stuck. And that is the same problem with experienced people. If you have super experienced, they're going to be very highly opinionated about something. They could be wrong, but also they could be wrong. And when they are wrong, you can't fix it. And it's better to hire young people almost outside of the university that they haven't formed their kind of mindset, and you guys grow together and make a mistake together. And that is what we do. Young people without experience, hungry, hard worker, intelligent. That's the key. And ideally be engineering backgrounds because we are a tech company.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, maybe some people listening will be applying for roles now.
Yes, we have hundreds of roles. Like we are hiring hundreds of people as we speak.
Okay, cool. And then last question, the signal. Is there anything you think is like happening under the currents in healthcare and tech now that's a really big signal that people aren't paying attention?
The biggest elephant in the room is AI. And this is something that I think, the only things I think, in my, I don't call it pajama time, pillow time.
Yeah.
I don't get to have pajama time, is AI. Is there something really happening, really, right? You can bullshit, exaggerate, hype up, lots of those happening, by the way, and make something that is commodity. I was talking with one of the largest payers in the US, one of their executives, and he was asking me, Dan, what kind of AI you guys have, And we had a really interesting conversations, and end of the conclusion was probably 99% of people, they say they have AI, they're bullshitting. Because the models are the models. And if someone comes in and tells you, oh, I have modified my model so much, that's so unique, the answer is, okay, as soon as the next model comes, which will come in 1 year, you are irrelevant from your tuning perspective, but also the next model might be so different, so good, that your tuning or even your approach to tuning might be irrelevant. So, and then we decided that for the next meeting with the CEO, we shouldn't even talk about AI because everybody is saying they have the same things. And that's true. Everyone has the same thing. So that's not the topic. So yeah, I do think a lot about AI and making sure that suddenly we don't fall behind, we don't miss it, but also we don't overinvest because we are not like a Google or whatever to be able to deploy billions, or Meta that spent, I don't know, 70 billion in metaverse. And then now they decide maybe it's not a good thing. Let us shut it down. We do not have that luxury. So we are playing by the ear, having our hands on the pulse, AI is the most important thing.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Dan. This is super fun for me and hopefully really interesting for the listeners. I really appreciate your sharing more about your journey.
No worries. Thanks for having the program. The more we can talk about these things, the better. And hopefully it will save some people some mistakes.